There are certain days that arrive quietly, disguised as ordinary moments. Yet beneath the surface, they carry enough force to alter the direction of an entire life. And today is one of those days. Something massive has shifted above you. Something charged with an intensity that does not wait for permission before it changes people. The energy entering the sky on May 20th is not subtle, it is not passive, and it is absolutely not business as usual. The Sun moves into Gemini today, but the atmosphere surrounding this transition feels less like the beginning of a season and more like the activation of a hidden signal that has been building pressure for weeks. Many people will move through this day without understanding why their emotions feel heightened, why conversations suddenly carry more weight, or why their thoughts seem louder than usual. But you were meant to hear this for a reason. Because the deeper truth is that the sky is no longer operating on the same frequency. It was even a month ago. Uranus, the planet associated with disruption, awakenings, shocking revelations, and irreversible breakthroughs, entered Gemini in late April 2026 after spending 7 long years inside Taurus. During those years in Taurus, Uranus destabilized everything connected to security, money, personal values, survival instincts, and the structures people once believed could never change. It exposed cracks beneath financial systems, emotional attachments, and even the identities people built around stability. Many have spent years feeling like the ground beneath them would not stop shifting, and that was not random. Uranus was dismantling false certainty piece by piece. But now the energy has entered entirely new territory. Gemini governs communication, thought patterns, language, information exchange, learning, mental processing, technology, and the human nervous system itself. It rules the way ideas travel between people and the way truth moves through the body before it ever becomes spoken language. When Uranus crossed into Gemini less than a month ago, the entire energetic infrastructure surrounding communication began mutating in real time. But until today, that electricity remained dormant beneath the surface, almost like a storm gathering pressure behind dark clouds before the first strike finally hits. The arrival of the Sun into Gemini on May 20th acts as the ignition point. This is the trigger. This is the moment dormant energy enters full consciousness. The Sun represents awareness, vitality, identity, illumination, and what becomes impossible to ignore. So when the Sun enters the same sign Uranus has just electrified, it is as if someone suddenly floods a locked room with light after years of darkness. Hidden truths begin surfacing faster than the mind can process them. Conversations that were delayed suddenly happen without warning. Messages arrive at strange times, carrying information capable of changing relationships, decisions, and future timelines within seconds. What once felt distant now feels immediate. What once remained buried suddenly demands expression. This is why many people are already sensing something unusual happening inside themselves without being able to explain it logically. There is a pressure building in the collective psyche right now, and sensitive people are already absorbing it through their nervous systems. 3 days ago, on May 17th, Mercury, the ruler of Gemini and the planet connected directly to speech, thought, communication, and mental perception, entered its home sign and immediately formed a collision with Uranus. That moment acted like the first crack of thunder before a storm finally breaks open overhead. Some of you experienced it instantly. Maybe it came through an unexpected conversation, a text message that arrived out of nowhere, a realization that hit your chest before your mind could explain it, or a strange moment where you suddenly understood something with absolute certainty, even though no evidence appeared in front of you yet. Those were the first signals. Those were the first energetic downloads moving through the portal before it fully opened. But now the Sun has entered Gemini, and the energy is no longer whispering. It is becoming impossible to silence. This is why ignoring what you feel right now may not even be possible anymore. The sky changed, and your body recognized it before your conscious mind did. If you have noticed pressure in your throat, tightness, while speaking sudden coughing difficulty, expressing emotions, strange sensations around your neck, or moments where words feel trapped before they leave your mouth. Understand that there is a deeper energetic reason connected to this transit. In esoteric astrology and energetic traditions, Gemini is not only associated with abstract communication, it governs the physical systems responsible for expression itself, including the throat, vocal cords, lungs, breathing rhythms, and nervous system responses. Energetically, Gemini is linked directly to the Vishuddha chakra, often called the throat chakra, the energetic bridge connecting the emotional truth of the heart with the intellectual understanding of the mind. This center governs authenticity, self-expression, honesty, and the ability to speak what has remained hidden internally. Most people move through life using this center unconsciously. They engage in surface-level conversations, automatic responses, rehearsed politeness, and emotionally disconnected exchanges without realizing how much truth remains suppressed beneath the words they speak every day. But Uranus does not tolerate suppression for long. Uranus destabilizes anything artificial. It shocks stagnant systems awake. So now that Uranus has entered Gemini, it is as though an overwhelming current of electricity has been plugged directly into the energetic center responsible for truth itself. And with the Sun entering Gemini today, followed by its alignment with Uranus just 2 days later, that current intensifies dramatically. The pressure becomes impossible to ignore. Emotional blockages surrounding expression begin cracking open. Long-avoided truths begin rising into consciousness, whether people feel ready or not. This is why some individuals suddenly feel desperate to confess something, confront something, reveal something, or finally say words they have swallowed for years. The nervous system senses the build-up before the conscious mind catches up. For some, this transit will feel liberating, like finally breathing after years underwater. For others, it may feel terrifying because the walls protecting unspoken emotions are beginning to collapse. But this is not punishment. This is activation. This is the moment where silence becomes heavier than honesty. And as this portal continues opening over the next few days, the speed at which truth moves through your life may become almost impossible to predict, because once the Sun fully energizes Uranus in Gemini, the messages that arrive are no longer optional background noise. They become turning points. For years, maybe even most of your life, you learned how to survive by swallowing pieces of yourself before they ever became words. You adapted to environments where honesty felt dangerous, where keeping the peace mattered more than expressing what was truly happening inside you. Little by little, you became fluent in silence. You learned how to smile while suppressing frustration. You learned how to nod while disagreeing internally. You learned how to shrink your voice so other people could remain comfortable. But what is happening now is dismantling that entire survival pattern from the inside out. The pressure building in your throat is not meaningless. The sensation of words hovering at the edge of expression without fully coming out is not random. The sudden emotional intensity you feel whenever you try to speak honestly is not weakness. Your body is reacting to an energetic clearing that has been building since Uranus entered Gemini in late April 2026. This transit is forcing old communication wounds to rise to the surface so they can no longer hide inside the nervous system. Some of you have noticed your voice sounding different lately, either cracking unexpectedly, becoming stronger, softer, shakier, or carrying emotions you cannot fully control. Others are realizing they can no longer tolerate meaningless conversations that once felt normal. Small talk feels exhausting now because your energy is rejecting superficiality. Deep inside, something is demanding authenticity. This is not ordinary emotional stress. This is the throat chakra beginning to activate under an overwhelming wave of uranian electricity. The Vishuddha center, the energetic gateway connected to truth, communication, and self-expression, is being pressured open by forces far bigger than personal preference. What remained buried is trying to move upward. What remained unspoken is trying to become sound. And the reason this feels so intense is because the energetic window opening between now and May 22nd is unlike anything people have experienced in years. This is not simply a supportive astrological moment for conversation or self-reflection. This is a concentrated communication surge, a compressed field of revolutionary mental energy moving through the collective all at once. To understand why this matters so much, you have to see the larger pattern unfolding beneath these events. Uranus entering Gemini created the new energetic framework. Think of it as the installation of entirely new wiring inside the collective nervous system. Gemini governs thought, language, information exchange, perception, speech, and mental processing. Uranus electrifies whatever it touches. So, for the next 7 years, humanity itself will slowly undergo a radical transformation in the way truth is communicated and understood. But large planetary shifts do not activate fully on their own. They require catalysts. They require trigger points, capable of bringing dormant energy into conscious awareness. That activation began on May 17th, when Mercury, ruler of Gemini and the planet, associated directly with communication and thought, formed its exact conjunction with Uranus at 1 degree and 14 minutes Gemini. That moment acted like the first shockwave moving through the portal. It was the mental awakening phase. It brought sudden realizations, unexpected messages, spontaneous insights, and moments where intuition moved faster than logic. Many people already felt the first ripple then, without realizing its significance. But now the process intensifies. Today, May 20th, the Sun enters Gemini, illuminating everything Mercury already unlocked beneath the surface. Information that existed only internally now begins manifesting externally. Thoughts become events. Realizations become conversations. Feelings become undeniable. Truths that can no longer remain hidden behind distraction or avoidance. Then comes May 22nd, the climax of this energetic build-up, when the Sun forms its exact conjunction with Uranus at 1 degree and 30 minutes Gemini. This is where conscious identity collides directly with revolution itself. This is where the version of yourself built around old limitations can no longer survive intact. The reason this portal carries such extraordinary power is because these are the very first personal planet activations of Uranus since its entry into Gemini. This is the inaugural transmission, the opening signal, the first energetic download shaping the next 7 years of communication, perception, and truth processing. What begins this week echoes far beyond these few days. The conversations, realizations, and decisions unfolding now are setting energetic patterns that will continue evolving long into the future. And while everyone alive will feel this shift in some way, certain zodiac signs stand directly inside the center of this storm because of the exact geometric relationships forming between Uranus in early Gemini and the early degrees of other mutable signs. In astrology, hard aspects create movement. Squares, oppositions, and conjunctions generate friction, powerful enough to force visible change into reality. These are not passive energies. They are catalytic pressures that break stagnation apart. Right now, 3 signs are positioned directly against this Uranian surge, making them especially vulnerable to sudden life-altering messages capable of changing everything within moments. Gemini stands first. If you are a Gemini Sun, Gemini Moon, or Gemini Rising, understand that this energy is not simply surrounding you. It is moving through your identity at the deepest level possible. The portal is opening inside your first house, the sector governing self-image, personal identity, physical presence, and the role you occupy in the world. Ever since Uranus crossed into Gemini in late April 2026, something inside you has likely felt unstable, restless, almost impossible to define. You may have noticed a growing discomfort with old routines, old labels, or even the way you once described yourself to other people. Parts of your personality that used to feel authentic now feel restrictive, almost like clothing that no longer fits your body. The identity you spent years constructing is beginning to crack under the pressure of awakening. And now, with both Mercury and the Sun activating Uranus directly inside your sign, the message breaking through becomes impossible to ignore. You are no longer the person you used to be. That realization alone changes everything. The miracle unfolding for Gemini is not limited to receiving important information externally. The deeper transformation is that you yourself are becoming the message. Sudden clarity may arrive regarding your life purpose, your direction, your hidden talents, or the future you are actually meant to build. It may hit so quickly that it feels shocking how obvious the truth suddenly becomes. For some, the breakthrough arrives externally through an unexpected opportunity, a conversation that redirects your path, a message from someone connected to your future, or an offer perfectly aligned with abilities you once underestimated. But the true power of this portal emerges the moment you stop censoring yourself. The instant you finally speak what fear kept trapped inside you, reality itself begins reorganizing around your words. People suddenly hear you differently. Doors that remained closed begin opening without explanation. Situations that felt impossible start shifting almost immediately. It is as though the universe amplifies your voice during this portal, turning your honesty into a force capable of reshaping your entire trajectory. But that power also carries a challenge, because once truth begins moving through you this strongly, there is no returning to the safety of pretending anymore. What makes this portal so overwhelming is that it refuses to negotiate with the version of you that was built around fear. The old personality constructed from hesitation, self-doubt, and emotional compromise cannot survive the intensity of what is moving through the sky right now. This energy is demanding complete honesty, not partial honesty, not carefully edited honesty, but the kind that changes your life the moment it leaves your mouth. The reason so many people feel emotionally stretched right now is because they can sense that something irreversible is happening beneath the surface. You can feel the tension between who you have been and who you are becoming. And the uncomfortable truth is that the distance between those two versions of yourself is now too large to ignore. For Gemini, this means stepping fully into an identity that no longer asks permission to exist. The days of minimizing your intelligence, pretending you are confused about your desires, or shrinking yourself to fit inside environments that already outgrew you are collapsing rapidly. This communication portal is not rewarding caution. It is rewarding authenticity so raw that it disrupts every false structure surrounding your life. If you surrender to it completely, by the end of May, you may barely recognize the person you used to be. But Gemini is not the only sign standing inside this wave of transformation. Virgo is next, and for Virgo Sun, Virgo Moon, and Virgo Rising. The impact of these Gemini transits lands directly in the 10th house, the highest point of the natal chart, the place associated with career authority, ambition, reputation, legacy, and the direction your public life is moving toward. Virgo, your connection to this portal runs especially deep because Mercury rules your sign. That means every movement Mercury makes reverberates directly through your mental world, your decision-making process, and the systems you rely on to feel stable. And now Mercury has collided with Uranus in the most visible part of your chart, followed immediately by the arrival of the Sun into the same energetic field. This is not subtle career growth. This is professional awakening at full voltage. Virgo energy naturally prefers order, preparation, precision, and logical progression. You are not someone who normally trusts chaos. You build slowly. You calculate risk carefully. You prefer knowing exactly where each step leads before you commit to movement. Your confidence comes from competence, from mastering details, from earning success piece by piece rather than gambling on uncertainty. But Uranus does not operate through predictability. Uranus interrupts timelines. It creates sudden openings that logic cannot fully explain. And this week, something professionally significant may arrive so quickly that your rational mind struggles to process it in real time. The message entering your life through this portal carries the potential to completely alter your career trajectory or force a dramatic pivot in the direction of your ambitions. For some Virgos, this manifests externally through authority changes, sudden promotions, unexpected recognition, or opportunities that thrust them into visibility almost overnight. A supervisor may leave unexpectedly, creating space for you to rise into a role you never imagined, opening this quickly. A project you quietly worked on behind the scenes may suddenly gain massive attention, exposing your talents to people capable of changing your future. A problem nobody else could solve may become the exact reason your expertise suddenly becomes indispensable. But Uranus often works in even stranger ways. Sometimes the breakthrough arrives not as opportunity, but as awakening. One moment you feel committed to the professional path you have been building, and the next moment, something inside you snaps into clarity so suddenly that continuing forward feels impossible. The career that once seemed stable may abruptly feel disconnected from your soul. The version of success you chased for years may suddenly appear empty. And what makes this experience so shocking for Virgo is not only the realization itself, but the speed of it. Uranus does not slowly persuade you over time. It strikes like lightning. It reveals truths faster than your nervous system can organize them. The miracle hidden inside this portal is not simply the message itself. It is your willingness to trust the message before every detail has been solved. This is the lesson Uranus is forcing Virgo to learn. You cannot intellectually control every transformation before it begins. Some breakthroughs require movement before certainty appears. And for someone who relies heavily on plans, systems, and carefully structured timelines, that can feel terrifying. But this week may become the exact moment you realize that waiting for complete certainty has been delaying the very life you are meant to build. The opportunity entering now may not arrive with guarantees. It may ask you to leap before you feel fully prepared. But if you say yes anyway, if you trust the opening while it is still unfolding, you may look back on this period as the week your entire future changed direction. The portal is not asking Virgo to abandon intelligence. It is asking Virgo to stop using perfectionism as a shield against transformation. Stop waiting for unanimous approval. Stop waiting for every variable to feel safe. The breakthrough is already moving toward you, and hesitation may be the only thing capable of blocking it. Then comes Pisces, and for Pisces Sun, Pisces Moon, and Pisces Rising, this communication surge reaches the deepest emotional layers of the chart. The Gemini activity is activating your fourth house, the foundation beneath everything else, the place associated with home, family, ancestry, emotional roots, memory, inner security, and the private self nobody else fully sees. Pisces, you have spent much of your life carrying emotional weight that was never entirely yours. You absorb atmospheres, moods, pain, expectations, and unspoken tensions almost automatically. Many Pisces learned very early that maintaining peace often required self-sacrifice. You became the emotional caretaker, the quiet healer, the person who tolerated discomfort internally so other people could remain comfortable externally. Over time, that pattern may have convinced you that silence was safety, that suppressing your own emotional truth was necessary for stability. But this portal is beginning to destroy that illusion completely. The miracle message arriving for Pisces comes through emotional liberation, and liberation rarely arrives gently. For years, maybe even decades, you may have swallowed feelings to preserve family dynamics, relationships, or environments that depended on your emotional compliance. You stayed quiet because confrontation felt dangerous. You convinced yourself that enduring discomfort was easier than disrupting the peace. But now the truth buried beneath those choices is forcing its way upward. Conversations you avoided may suddenly happen without warning. Emotional boundaries ignored for years may finally become impossible to tolerate. You may feel an overwhelming urge to finally express pain you have hidden from everyone around you, including yourself. Some Pisces may confront relatives about wounds that have quietly shaped their entire emotional world. Others may suddenly realize that the place they currently call home no longer aligns with who they are becoming. A desire to relocate, move, or completely redefine what security means may arise so strongly that it cannot be ignored. Uranus can also bring shocking revelations connected to ancestry, family history, or emotional patterns passed down through generations. Information may surface that completely reframes your understanding of your past and explains emotional burdens you carried without fully understanding their origin. For others, the portal may open through sudden opportunities involving property, relocation, or a chance to create a new foundation entirely. Something that felt unreachable days ago may suddenly become possible almost overnight. But the deepest miracle for Pisces is not external. It is internal reclamation. The moment you finally speak the emotional truth you feared would destroy your relationships, you begin recovering pieces of yourself that were lost inside survival patterns for years. And what you may discover is that authentic relationships do not collapse under truth. They strengthen through it. The people truly aligned with your growth will adjust to your honesty. Those who cannot may reveal that they were attached only to the quieter version of you that no longer exists. Pisces. This portal is teaching you that emotional security was never created through silence. Real safety comes from honoring your own voice instead of abandoning it to protect everyone else. And as these messages continue arriving at extraordinary speed, one thing becomes increasingly clear. The miracle of this transit is not only what changes, it is how quickly everything changes once the truth is finally spoken aloud. The biggest mistake people make during moments like this is assuming the miracle arrives in the form they imagined. Most people think transformation should unfold slowly, predictably, step by step, but Uranus has never operated according to human expectations. Uranian energy is not concerned with comfort, preparation, or emotional readiness. It is concerned with breakthrough. It is concerned with acceleration. It collapses timelines. It bypasses the slow unfolding people normally depend on to feel safe. And that is exactly why this communication portal feels so volatile right now. The real miracle hidden inside this week is not necessarily that you receive every single thing you thought you wanted. The miracle is that something capable of changing your direction entirely can happen with shocking speed. A conversation that should have taken years to happen suddenly occurs in minutes. A truth that remained buried beneath fear suddenly surfaces so clearly that denial becomes impossible. A relationship dynamic that felt frozen suddenly shifts overnight because one honest sentence finally gets spoken aloud. Uranus does not move through gradual emotional negotiations. It moves through sudden realization, rapid disruption, and irreversible awakening. This is why the energy of this portal cannot be controlled through planning. You cannot organize a Uranian breakthrough in advance. You cannot calculate the exact moment the message will arrive or manipulate the form it will take. The most important opportunities often enter through the doorway you least expected. A random encounter, an unusual interaction, a sentence overheard at the perfect moment, an email almost ignored, a message arriving from someone you have not spoken to in years. These are the kinds of strange delivery systems Uranus prefers. The logical mind struggles with this because logic wants predictability. Logic wants evidence before movement. But this portal is operating faster than ordinary reasoning can process. And that is why people who are spiritually awake during this period understand something essential. Timing matters more than certainty right now. The opening created between May 17th and May 23rd is temporary. By May 23rd, the exact conjunctions separating Mercury, the Sun, and Uranus begin dissolving. The energetic intensity fades. The portal slowly closes. The heightened clarity, urgency, and acceleration soften back into normal rhythm. And while the consequences of this activation continue echoing for years because Uranus remains in Gemini, the extraordinary speed and volatility of this specific window will not last forever. That is why hesitation carries such weight right now. Fear has a way of disguising itself as practicality. Doubt disguises itself as caution. The mind convinces people to delay action until conditions feel perfect, until every answer arrives, until uncertainty disappears. But Uranian opportunities rarely wait for emotional comfort. They appear suddenly, demand courage immediately, and often vanish the moment fear regains control. Many people will spend the rest of this year replaying the signs they ignored during this portal, wondering what could have happened if they trusted the opening instead of retreating back into old patterns. The individuals who experience the greatest breakthroughs now are not necessarily the smartest or the most prepared. They are the ones willing to move when the energy says move. They recognize the difference between impulsiveness and divine timing. They understand that certain moments carry a rare energetic momentum that cannot be recreated later through force. So the question becomes, how do you move through this portal without becoming overwhelmed by its intensity? The first lesson is learning how to listen properly. Right now, the mental field is crowded. Gemini energy floods the nervous system with stimulation, ideas, possibilities, conversations, and information moving at extraordinary speed. Not every thought entering your mind carries truth. Some insights are genuine downloads. Others are simply noise amplified by overstimulation. This is why discernment matters. Do not react impulsively to every passing emotion or mental flash. Instead, pay attention to the message that lands differently inside your body. The real download does not create confusion. It creates recognition. It hits with a strange certainty that bypasses overthinking completely. Your nervous system knows the difference before your mind does. The second lesson is honesty. If there is a truth you have buried for months, maybe even years, this is the moment to stop suppressing it. The energy supporting this portal is amplifying authentic communication at a level that makes previously impossible conversations suddenly flow with surprising ease. Words that once felt trapped inside your chest may now rise naturally to the surface. And while honesty can feel terrifying before it is spoken, what most people discover afterward is that silence was costing them far more than truth ever could. Third, remain attentive to the unexpected. Uranus rarely announces itself through familiar patterns. The miracle message may arrive disguised as coincidence. It may come through an accidental meeting, a strange recommendation, a brief interaction online, or a conversation you almost dismissed because it did not fit your expectations. The people most aligned with this portal are the ones willing to remain open to unconventional pathways, instead of demanding that transformation arrive in a predictable form. Fourth, protect your nervous system carefully during this period. Gemini energy accelerates mental activity intensely, and with Uranus electrifying that sign, many people are operating with overstimulated emotional circuits right now. Endless scrolling, excessive caffeine, emotional chaos, and constant distraction can drown out the very clarity this portal is trying to deliver. Ground yourself intentionally. Breathe deeply. Move your body. Spend time away from noise whenever possible. Let your mind settle enough that the deeper signal beneath the chaos becomes audible. Finally, trust the pull, even when logic cannot fully explain it yet. If you suddenly feel compelled to contact someone, apply for an opportunity, change direction, or make a decision that appears irrational on paper but feels undeniable internally, pay attention to that feeling. Uranus moves according to divine timing, not human schedules. Right now, the energetic current is moving so quickly that the logical mind may lag behind the soul entirely. This is why intuition becomes essential during this portal. By the time your rational brain fully understands the shift occurring, the opportunity may already have passed. And now, the moment arrives. May 20th. The day the sun officially enters Gemini and the season begins in full force. But this is not simply a period of social curiosity or scattered conversation. This is the beginning of a cycle where language itself becomes transformative. Your voice carries more power now than you realize. The truths you speak during this portal ripple outward into reality with extraordinary force. Conversations begun this week may alter futures. Decisions made now may redirect entire timelines. The communication portal is open, and the messages moving through it are searching for people brave enough to receive them honestly. Whether you are Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, or any other sign under this sky, this week is revealing something essential about your own power. Your words matter. Your truth matters. Your voice has the ability to reshape the direction of your life the moment you stop hiding it behind fear. And when the universe amplifies your voice through a portal like this, the deeper question is no longer whether transformation is possible. The real question becomes whether you are finally ready to say what your soul has known all along. If you made it all the way through this message, thank you for sharing your energy and your time here. And if this resonated with you, if something inside you recognized the shift we talked about today, make sure you stay connected, because these transits are only beginning to unfold. I would also love to hear what this portal brings into your life over the next few days. Pay attention to the conversations, realizations, and unexpected messages that arrive this week, and share your experience below, because your breakthrough may be exactly the confirmation someone else needs to hear right now. Until next time, take care of yourself, trust the timing unfolding around you, and stay open to the messages trying to find you.